Do you regret having kids? If so, why? I love my kids. However, now that I'm a parent, I don't feel like I'm particularly good at it. I feel like I don't prioritize them enough or make the right parenting decisions. Add to that, I just find being a parent hard. Not sure if that is regret exactly or more guilt for not being a better dad. I know exactly how you feel. I had a kid way too young, and I was not at all prepared. If I didn't have him, I probably wouldn't have ever had kids. Being a parent has taught me that I'm too selfish for kids. I do my best for him because he didn't ask to be born. I brought him into this world, and I will do my very best to make his time here as pleasant as possible. I will work hard to give him the tools to be a good, well-rounded human being. But I still feel guilty. I know I'm not the best parent, at least I'm not the worst, but I am trying. I just hope it's enough. Mom had me when she was young and has no maternal bones in her body. She's too selfish for kids. I'm in my 40s now, and to this day I wish she never had me. But she will never admit it. If she had, I could have forgiven her. You're brave to admit it, and I respect that. I told my mom once that she should have never been in charge of any living thing. Not a dog, not a goldfish, not a houseplant, and certainly not the development of a human being. I concluded that she never wanted to raise a person. She just wanted to have a baby. Some people just see it as something they need to do in life, with zero regard for whether or not they should. My experience is similar, but I was born in the 1950s and got Betty Draper Light, you Mad Men watchers know, as a mother. She was an unhappy 50s wife and mother who married the wrong man and had a baby that was not the key to happiness, me, as she imagined. I was not the ideal child she pictured, and as I grew I had opinions and was a separate and very different person from her. Motherhood is not for everyone, and it hurts kids who are born to mothers who just cannot be maternal and caring. This is my husband, and I feel so bad for my choice to have kids with him. He has a temper and gets mad for literally nothing. Zero patience. Yes, he financially supports us and our kids, and does try to take us places to make memories, but has no self-control or patience if something goes grown or there are bumps on the road, which there will always be with kids. I do all the child rearing, and I mean it. I do all the signs up for school, fill every document they ever had since birth, and change every single diaper. We have a baby who is almost 1, and he only changed 1 single diaper right after my C-section because I couldn't do it. All the baths and bedtime and mornings routines, pack all the lunches, get them ready if we go out and pack for trips, doctor's appointments, etc., etc. He isn't a great father, only a great provider financially, and that's it. We planned one, and after I didn't want more kids with him, but got accidentally pregnant twice, after then tied my tubes because I couldn't keep doing this to myself or my kids. I always have the kids, and for him, he comes and goes as he pleases. His life has honestly hardly changed while mine has changed tremendously. He's too selfish to be a dad. I always say, being a parent is hard, and I always immediately correct myself and say, being a good parent is hard. Anyone can be a parent, but usually, when you're worried about not being good enough, it shows that you care a great deal and are most likely doing what you think is best for your kids. You're never going to get it right 100% of the time. Even when you think you have figured out how to handle a certain situation, the next time will be different, and you'll need to adjust. But you will adjust and keep trying to figure it out, because that's what good parents do. You make decisions that you think are the best right now, with the info you're currently working with. Will you look back and realize you could have handled a situation better, or done something different that would have had a better outcome? Absolutely. But there isn't anything you can do except use that knowledge in the future. Keep doing your best and try to give yourself a little grace. I think parents today try to take on too much. Obviously, there's a higher level than just letting them roam until they're 7 or so and old enough to work in the mines. But I see a lot of parents these days who think they need to be on all the time and entertaining their kids all the time, and honestly, that's not good for them either. If there are things you like to do before the kids, and you feel bad for doing them now, stop and think about how you can involve them. Obviously, hiking is easier than, say, axe throwing, and drinking is right out. They frown on a preschooler making a vodka tonic these days. But a preschooler can sit beside you with paper and paint while you work on your miniatures. Any child old enough to walk can help you take things out to use. And as soon as a baby can sit up on his own, he can be put near you or in your lap, and you can talk about what you're doing. There's no reason a 4-month-old can't learn about spawn camping. It's like you want some space, but then you miss them. But then you want them to magically disappear without being hurt for like a day. But you don't want them to die, but just want to sleep in. But if they oversleep, you worry. Being a parent includes so many conflicting feelings. It's not the responsibility people hate, it's the constant attachment you can't look away, and you cannot take care of them. Most frustrated parents just want time off, just like you take from a job. I know I wish I had some. Yes, my 3-yo is always moving, always running and jumping and screaming and barely sleeps and hasn't napped since he was 1. Then he started acting different after getting sick. He wasn't sick anymore, but he just wanted to sleep in and lay around all the time. It was much quieter, and it was what I had wanted so badly. But I knew something was wrong, and all I wanted then was my crazy toddler back running around me in circles and screaming. I think this is a huge problem with modern life. Human beings have relied on community for their entire history until the last 50-so years. As such, it used to be that children were cared for by a trusted community member, elders, young adults, etc. Nowadays, everyone's so fragmented. For many of us, much of our community is remote contact. People talk about how lonely everyone feels, but there are other effects from this as well, and one of them is parenting. Parents are now expected to take the full brunt of child rearing with little to no help. The world is so big and the media so scary that we cannot trust our immediate community to not abuse our young. I hope you are good. My mom is a great mom who wants me and loves me a lot, but also has a fulfilled life otherwise. A very interesting career, a good husband, interests, and hobbies. When she was in her early 20s, her sister and friend hitchhiked through Europe and had many crazy adventures. I know a lot of their stories, and just recently we talked about some of it again, and they remembered a lot and laughed, when suddenly my mom's eyes got a bit teary, and she said, "Once you have kids, you can never feel that way again," referring to that sense of freedom and adventure. She traveled and still travels. It's not like her life stopped, but she said that feeling of complete carefreeness is something she could never have again. And as an adult, although I don't have kids, I understand. She is always in some way worried about me. She is never completely just living for herself. And without being hurt by it, I can understand that also comes with some profound sense of loss. I don't regret my 3 girls, but I also didn't have kids until 30. The time before kids was a great time when I had money and enough maturity to experience the world in a safe and carefree way. Do I miss those times? Yes. Did I cross everything off my bucket list? No. But youth only comes once, and I am happy that I spent some of it experiencing the world and some of it playing with my kids. I feel like I got some of both worlds. I love my kids so much it's hard to explain sometimes. However, now that I have kids, I regret much of the time I spent drinking and talking about instead of doing more of the activities I wanted to be doing, like traveling, starting a business, art, etc. Insti half assets those things and wasted a lot of that time being drunk. Kids late at 39 helps with certain things, but I do think if I could buy 10 years back and have them at 30 instead, I'd go for it. Mostly because I want to be 59 instead of 69 when they are in their 30s, and not so close to hitting those elderly years. This touched me. I don't have kids, but a lot of what your mom expresses are exactly the feelings I fear I would feel if I did have them. I don't think it's wrong to mourn your old life. It's normal, and most parents probably do feel that even if it's just a little. But my biggest fear is that I would mourn my old life to a greater extent than I enjoy the new one with kids. That is a scary prospect for me, particularly because I would care deeply about being a good mom and would feel bad if I indeed felt like I liked my old life more. Even when a child is wanted and planned, whatever you imagine will never be the exact reality, especially since most people don't imagine things like if their kids have disabilities or lifelong challenges or other things that aren't standard. And you'll never really know what it's like until you do it. And by the time they're here, it's already too late. And what if it's not at all what I expected? That's the deterrent for me. It's not something you can just take a chance and see, essentially. With even something like marriage, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but having kids doesn't work like that. I think regulating a carefree lifestyle comes with age, regardless of being a parent or not. Whether it's increasing responsibilities from work, body, or home, I can no way not consider the consequences of my actions in every bold move I make. I love this story. Thank you for sharing. My mom resents me because I don't turn out to be the mini her. I take after my absent father while my little sister takes after her. She has expressed her regrets about marrying him. Whenever I make a mistake, big or small, she almost always says that I am exactly like my father. She makes it clear that it is not a compliment. My parents are still together and overall happy, and mine still resents me for being like my dad and not her. She scoffs and rolls her eyes and says I'm just like him. Ma'am, you mean your spouse of 36 years? She also doesn't like how unconventional I am, so it's just a lose-lose. Mine are together too. My mother always complained about not having the conventional mother-daughter relationship with me, and complained that I never wanted to let her help me with my hair and clothes or makeup, etc. However, I distinctly remember her telling me I looked like a slut when I played with her lipstick once when I was 9 years old. Anyway, I was and will never be the daughter she wanted. And now, being almost 28 with my own 2 boys, I can't imagine doing that to them. My eldest might be autistic too, so we will be getting that diagnosis soon, and I believe I am also on the spectrum. So that explains why I could never be the daughter she wanted, but she should have also accepted me for who I am just like I do with my children. I hate that. It's like they think we had a choice in the matter. Ugh, no. You're the one who chose to have kids with that other person. I didn't get a say. And if I did get to choose my parents, guess what? I wouldn't have chosen you as my mother either. My mom always tells us, 4 kids, that we didn't pay attention while in there, her womb. I do wish I could tell her, no, you're the one who has bad taste in men and chose not 1 but 2 men you shouldn't have procreated with. I'm already in low contact with her, so try to keep what few interactions we have peaceful. It's hard. I talked to a friend about this recently whose mom is similar to mine, though in some ways worse. In some ways, I had it worse. She's having a hard time even being around her mom for a few hours. And she feels bad about it and asks why couldn't her mom do this or be like this instead? I told her it's okay to mourn the fact that the mom she wishes she had isn't the mom she was given. I had to. Man, I'm sorry she does that to you. You should confront her and tell her it's not on you that she had children with someone who didn't work out to be who she wanted in the long run. You are your person no matter what your parents are like, and she needs to recognize that. My advice, tell her how it makes you feel when she does this to you. Tell her not to make the comparison in the future if she continues to cross this boundary and you are of age and financially able to, and cut contact, at least temporarily. Also, get help from a counselor to deal with this abuse. It has profoundly affected you more than you can imagine. I hope you will feel good. I don't regret having my boys, but I always caution people to wait long enough to know themselves a little better first. I say the same thing about marriage. I was married with my first kid by my 20th birthday. I am not the same person now that I was then. While some of that is the fact that kids change their experience and perspective by necessity, part of it is just time. I will be an empty nester by 40, but I wonder sometimes if my boys would not have benefited from a more emotionally mature environment. In the end, I know my kids, and I know what awesome little humans they are. I wouldn't trade them for anything. Such a different path than me. I had my first kid at 41 and didn't meet my partner until 38. You will be able to have a different kind of relationship with adult kids. Just imagine trips or going out for drinks or to amusement parks together, etc. They will keep you young. I bet you may even become friends with some of their friends when they become a little more mature, 30 plus, and get invited to younger events. I have friends in this situation and it seems amazing. They created an exceptional relationship with their kids. We had our kids earlier, 22 until 29 for me. And there are days I wish I had spent more time traveling when I had no cares in the world, and that my SO had been more mature and patient at the time. At the same time, at 40 now, I have 0 patience for little kids. I would never tell my friends with little kids this, but I honestly would prefer they not bring them over or have to do stuff with them. So I'm not sure if waiting would have helped me or just made it so that I didn't ever have any. I had so much energy in my 20s. I used to do crafts, play games, roughhouse, jump on the trampoline, and rent bouncy houses, etc. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be doing any of that if I had waited until my mid-late 30s. We also had time to space them all out 4 years apart. My SO would have been a better parent now in his 40s than he was back then. He grew up in a very dysfunctional household and he's still working through the trauma. At that time, though, he was a lot more irresponsible, impatient, and resentful. It's hard. There doesn't seem to be a good answer. We did what we did. Who knows how life would have been different had we done them differently? Each path has its challenges and rewards, and individuals navigate these journeys based on their unique circumstances, personalities, and the opportunities presented to them. but at least we are able to choose it by ourselves. Hope you good. If I'm honest, I frequently regret it. I love them and would do anything for them, but caring for them is extremely draining for me, and I don't feel fulfilled by it. We have 3 boys, 4, 6, 8, and are constantly breaking up fights. When I imagine doing this for another 15 years instead of going out and having adventures, I feel very claustrophobic. I hope that will change as they get older, and I can share some more grown-up things with them. I guess part of the problem is I got married early and poured everything into grad school until I was 30. By that time, we had 2 kids, and the kinds of trips and hobbies we could pursue were pretty limited. So maybe if I had taken more time for myself before settling down and doing school, I would feel differently. My children are in their 20s now, and I can guarantee that things will get much easier. You will have more time for hobbies and trips. To me, though, an important factor is money. I didn't care so much about money when I was single and newly married, and even when my children were very young because my focus was on them. As they get older, though, and you get back to yourself, or some version of it, you realize that money is what's going to get you babysitters, so you can go to a fun class, eat out with your husband, go on a trip, and if you want to, leave them in a kids' club type of place, etc. My husband and I don't have a lot of money, but we have enough for a middle-class lifestyle that includes an occasional vacation and a large enough home so we're not on top of each other. Do whatever you can to be sure you have enough income. Feeling fulfilled. Of course, you don't feel fulfilled because a lot of what you're doing is just daily maintenance. Cooking, getting them to sleep, breaking up fights, etc. I'm sure you have good times, but that's a lot of what life is about at these ages. Do you work outside the home, or what doing that makes you feel more fulfilled? To me, it was very stressful at first, but even working a few hours a week was helpful in my subsequent career. The important thing, though, is to remember that this isn't forever. As they get older, your options and your life will expand. You can't do anything about what happened or didn't happen in the past, but you can do your best to make your future both secure and bright. I think this sums up my feelings well. I have 2 girls, 2 and 6. They do not play together. I often feel like I am mom to the 2-yo and my husband is dad to the 6-yo because that's how we always end up when we're all home. It's exhausting, and I honestly can't wait to go back to work when the youngest is in school. I don't feel fulfilled here. I often feel like I'm failing, and I get jealous of those with free time and friends to spend it with. I love both of my babies, but the younger years are wearing on me. I think it will become a little more enjoyable when they're a bit older and more self-sufficient. I can't imagine my life without my girls for sure, but it's not something I recommend to my childless friends who express interest. Hang in there. It does get less claustrophobic as they get older. All at once, they'll reach the stage when they can all make their own meals and leave the kitchen reasonably tidy, and it is a game changer for you. My brother has 3 boys separated by 2 years each. They were terrors growing up, and pretty much no one in the family wanted to be around them. All 3 turned into great people. Eventually. Thanks for sharing. I don't regret having my kids. I regret having them so young because I feel like I cheated them out of what they deserved: financial and emotional stability. I hear what you're saying, but from the other side, I became a dad at 42. And although I'm more mentally prepared and somewhat stable, every day is now a massive existential crisis of thinking about how long I'll be here for him. When he's 20, I'll be 60, etc. So I feel I may have cheated him out of having his dad around for many years. With the best will and health in the world, I'll be 80 when he's 40. And although I'd have been there through the teenage years and into early adulthood, the best I'm probably going to manage is to be there for about half of his life. I know this is a negative way of thinking, but logic and common sense can't push the intrusive thoughts out of my head. If there's anything I can offer as a positive to you, try not to worry about being there financially as much as being able to be around as a parent for as long as you can. I know there are no guarantees in life, and who knows what the world will be like even in the next 20 years. But I feel guilty for bringing a child into a world that's doing its best to burn itself into the ground and also being about a decade older than I'd have liked to be when he was born. I'm a bit more old school in my approach, and I don't believe all kids are precious little angels with no accountability, and that's another problem with being about a decade older than most parents who have kids of a similar age. But I love my son more than anything, even though I don't helicopter or micromanage, and the whole thing is an absolute mindfuck. These are all thoughts I keep to myself, and I know I'm having a rather negative vent here. But I think the most important thing is to be there for your kids without the undue pressure of worrying about finances, even though I get that you want to be responsible. I wish you all the best and know it's not easy. It's understandable that you grapple with concerns about being there for your child throughout their life, especially considering the age difference. The fear of not being present for significant milestones and life events can be overwhelming. It's important to acknowledge these feelings and perhaps find ways to channel them into positive actions or discussions with your child. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and experiences so openly. Yes, I love them and I'm not going to leave them in a mall somewhere, but if I'm being honest, yes, I wanted one. Wife wanted 3. Through some planning and some miscalculations, we ended up with 3. There are a few sides to it, how it affects me and then what it means for them. First, for me, parenting is exhausting and never-ending. It's expensive. The things I could be doing if I had 1 or no kids? My goodness, man. Champagne dreams and caviar wishes. I have lost so much sense of self. Everything revolves around them. Activities, doctor appointments, playtime, their TV shows, school events, up all night. I'm not a person anymore. I'm a nanny and a venture capitalist funding this human growth startup. For them, I feel bad because I'm just not good at it. Try as I may, I feel like I simply can't meet the 24/7 demand for attention and to always be doing something that they and my wife expect. There's never a moment when someone isn't asking for something. And no one around me seems to understand the impossible position I'm in. I make 80% of our income. I need to work. And despite being around for as much as I can, God help me if I can't make an appointment. I have the wife, her family, and my own family acting like I've scarred them by missing key milestones. It was an ENT appointment. I think they'll be okay. There are more important things than work. Not if you enjoy the multiple cars, vacations, the house, toys, electronics, and subscriptions. There isn't. The kids have made my life something very different than I wanted it to be. This is the struggle of a modern dad. Everyone just keeps talking about how hard it is for mothers, and don't get me wrong, it is, and there should be much more support. However, somehow the dads are just being left out of the conversation. We require so much more from dads now than we have ever before. But also, dads now want to be more involved because they likely grew up with a father who wasn't around and remember how it feels. The problem is you can't work 100% and do 50% childcare. Work unfortunately takes up so much space. In the current economy, most people can't afford to work, but you also want to be there all the time for each child and also for your wife. Oh, and don't forget the shared household chores. Honestly, parenting in this century sucks. I'm happy that we don't beat our kids anymore and are more sensitive and aware, but it's so much harder for us as parents. Give yourself a break, your kids will understand it one day. And talk to your wife, hopefully, she will listen and will give you some alone time now and then. I can only hope as they become adults and maybe parents themselves, they will understand that you were the reason they were able to create so many memories to begin with. And frankly, I think your spouse could be doing more to support that position. Reminding the children of this and that was made possible by your hard work, that you have to sacrifice time with them so they can have all the pretty little things, and even the basics like a roof, hot running water, food on the table. Sounds a lot like you are taken for granted and just need some acknowledgement. Financially burdened parents are unsung heroes, and from someone who is actually on the other side of a situation like yours, I'm going to reward my husband and express gratitude with more than words for the stress he carries every single day. Wow, thanks for sharing this. Just want to say you are not alone. Everyone who is considering having kids should read this. Once you're a parent, if you want to be any good at it, your life is over. You're now just a support system for the kid S. Your dreams, your fun time, your money, time, freedom, peace, and quiet, etc. are all gone.